Vandeham Shri Guru Shritapadakammalam Shri
Yeah,
Gurun. Huh?
chapter 2, Maharaj.
Oh, first verse. Okay.
Yes.
Vandeham Shri Guru Shritapadakammalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Nirupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathan Vitam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Saganalita Shri Vishakhan Vidamsha Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Sreshtham Manavapisachupatramatra Sarupam Rupam Tasyagrajamaruparim Mathurim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramho Radhika Madhavasham प्राप्तो यस्य प्रथित कृपया श्री गुरुं तं नतोऽस्मि नमस्ते गुरुदेवाय सर्वसिद्धि प्रदायिने सर्वमंगल रूपाय सर्वानंद विदायिने First of all, offer my millions of obeisances to lotus feet of Asmadi Guru Pad Padma Nittila Preshta Jagat Guru Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. Then also offer obeisances to lotus feet of Tridendi Sannyasi Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Dandi Maharaj Ji, Namnishta Santa Shri Aniruddha Das Prabhu Ji, all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis who are gathered here, please accept my humble obeisances. So today is Radha Ashtami, birthday of Srimati Radharani. Uh, she is the best of the devotees. Anaya Radhito Nunam Bhagwan Haridishwara Yanno Vihaya Govinda Pritoyam Anayadraha. That she is the one who actually worshipped Krishna the best. Srila Gurudev was telling that how Radharani, she manifested from the left side of Sri Krishna and she started running towards Krishna, and Kulsa Krishna also started running towards her. So she does the Aradhana of Krishna, and Krishna also does Aradhana of her. That's why she is called Radha. Understand? But um, so that's why all the devotees all over the world, they're celebrating this particular festival, Radha Ashtami. And we had nice Kirtan and Abhishek just now in the house of Shri Ramanjana Prabhu. So now we'll begin chapter 2, Sankhya Yoga. Yoga through distinguishing the soul from the body. We have to distinguish the soul from the body. We are not this body. So Sanjay Vacha Tam Tatha Krupaya Vishtam Ashupurana Kulekshanam Vishidantam Idam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana Tam Tatha Krupaya Vishtam Ashupurana Kulekshanam Vishidantam Idam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudana. Sanjay Vacha. Sanjay said, Tam unto him Arjuna, Tatha Krupaya with compassion, Avishtam overwhelmed, Ashrupurna full of tears, Akula restless, Ikshanam eyes, Vishidantam the lamenting, Idam these, Vakyam words, Uvacha spoke, Madhusudana the slayer of the demon Madhu. Sanjay said, Shri Madhusudan thus spoke these words to the lamenting Arjuna, who was overwhelmed with compassion and whose restless eyes were full of tears. Now it's a very difficult situation. You see that you have to fight your relatives, friends, grandfather. This is a very, very difficult situation. So, anyways, this chapter, second chapter, is very glorious. Lord Vishnu said, My dear Lakshmi, you have heard from me the glories of the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Now please listen carefully as I tell you the glories of the second chapter. The Lord Vishnu is telling the glories of this second chapter of Bhagavad Gita to Lakshmi. Once in the south, in the town of Pandharpur, Pandharpur is in Maharashtra where Vitthal deity is there, a very learned Brahmana by the name Devasham lived. He was able to perform all kinds of fire sacrifices. He also knew the importance of receiving guests. And by his activities, he managed to satisfy all the demigods. But he was not happy and peaceful in his heart He had the desire to attain knowledge of the soul's relationship with the super soul, Paramatma, and towards this end, he would invite many yogis and tapasvis and render all kinds of service to them and inquire from them about the absolute truth. In this way, he passed many years of his life. One day, while he was walking, he saw one yogi in front of him, sitting cross legged with his eyes fixed on the tip of his nose, totally absorbed in meditation. Devasham could perceive that this yogi was completely peaceful and without any material desires. Devasham, with the greatest respect and reverence, fell at the feet of that yogi and inquired from him how he could attain complete peace of mind. At that time, that yogi, who had complete knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, advised Devasham to go to the village of Saupur and meet one Mitravan, who was a goat herder by profession, and take instructions in the science of God realization from him. After hearing this, Devasham again and again offered his respectful obeisances to the feet of the yogi and immediately left for Sopur. When he arrived there, he found on the northern side one beautiful forest, where he was informed that Mitravan lived. When he entered that forest, he saw on the bank of a small river Mitravan seated on top of some rocks. Mitravan looked very beautiful and totally peaceful. In that forest, the wind was blowing very gently and a beautiful aroma was emanating from every direction. The goats were peacefully moving here and there, totally unafraid. Some were seen to be sitting next to the tigers, and other ferocious animals very peacefully. When Devasham saw this scene, his mind became very peaceful. He respectfully approached Mitravan and sat close to him. Mitravan appeared to be fully absorbed in his meditation. After some time, Devasham inquired from him how he would be able to attain devotion to Lord Krishna. When Mitravan heard this question, for a moment he was lost in deep thought. Then he replied, "My dear learned Devasham, once long ago I was in the forest looking after the goats when a very ferocious tiger attacked. At that time, all the goats ran here and there to save themselves. I also ran off due to the fear of that tiger. From some distance, I looked back and saw that tiger on the bank of the river encountered one of my goats. At that time, a strange, wonderful thing happened. That tiger lost all his anger and desire to eat my goat. Thereupon, my goat inquired from that tiger, 'You have attained your food, so why are you not eating the meat of my body? You should immediately kill me and with great relish eat up my flesh. Why are you hesitating?' The tiger said, 'My dear goat, since I have come to this place, all anger has left me. I have no hunger or thirst. The goat said, 'I also do not know why I am feeling so fearless and peaceful. What can be reason for this? If you know, then kindly inform me.' The tiger replied, 'I also do not know. Let us inquire from that person.' When I saw this change take place in the activities of that tiger and goat, I became very much astonished. At that time, they both approached me and inquired as to the reason. I noticed that a monkey was sitting on the branch of a nearby tree. I went along with the two of them and inquired from that monkey king. That monkey replied to our question with great respect. 'Listen, I'll tell you. It is a very old story. In that forest, just in front of you, there is a very large temple which Lord Brahma installed a Shivalinga. Long ago, a learned sage of the name Sukam, who had performed many austerities, lived there. Daily, he would bring flowers from the forest and water from the river and worship Lord Shiva. In this way, he was living here for many years. When one day, one sage arrived. At that time, Sukam brought fruits and water and fed that sage. After the sage had eaten and rested, Sukam spoke to him, 'O learned one, only for the reason of obtaining knowledge of Lord Krishna am I living here, performing austerities and worship. But the results of my austerities have been attained today by coming in contact with you.' When sage heard the words of Sukam, which were full of submission, He became greatly pleased and he wrote on one piece of stone the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. He then instructed Sukam to daily read those verses. By doing so, you will quickly attain your goal. After having spoken thus, that sage disappeared from that place while Sukam was looking on. After that, following the instructions of that sage, Sukam recited those verses daily for the rest of his life. Very quickly, he attained complete knowledge of Lord Krishna, and from that day, he started reciting those verses. He felt no more thirst or hunger. And due to these austerities of devotion at this place, anyone who visits here does not feel the pangs of hunger and thirst and immediately attains complete peace. Mitravan said, "My dear Devasham, after the monkey had finished telling us that wonderful story, I, along with the tiger and goat, went to that temple. We found there written on one piece of stone the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. I started to recite those verses daily. In this way, we are able to attain very quickly devotion to Lord Krishna. My dear Brahman, if you also start reciting the verses of the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, you will quickly attain the mercy of Lord Krishna." Lord Vishnu said, "My dear Lakshmi, in this way Devasham attained knowledge from Mitravan, and after worshipping that great soul, he returned to Pandharpur and daily recited that second chapter. And whoever visited Pandharpur, Devasham would first recite before him the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. In this way, Devasham attained the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. My dear Lakshmi, these are the glories of the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita." So we see that how glorious is this Srimad Bhagavad Gita, second chapter. This is a song divine. In English, it is there. Shedding tears of pity, sat Arjun quite depressed. Seeing this, Lord Krishna made the following request. This is the English rendition of it. So here, the philosophical teachings of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna's instructions to the warrior Arjun, begin in this chapter. Bewildered and perplexed as to the proper course of action, Arjun submits himself as Krishna's disciple and asks for the instructions. Now I am confused about duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me clearly what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Krishna begins his teachings by presenting Sankhya philosophy, the analytical study of matter and spirit. To elevate Arjuna's horror at the thought of killing his relatives, Krishna contrasts the eternality of the soul, the real self, with the temporality of the material body, the soul's outer covering. The soul, Atma, is eternal. It continues to exist after the death of the material body. For the soul, there is never birth nor death. Nor having once been, does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. At death, the soul transmigrates to a new body. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, similarly the soul accepts new material bodies. Giving up the old and useless ones. The wise man is he who, knowing the self to be the eternal soul, is never disturbed by the change of body and is unconcerned with the temporary features and pains of the material body. Such a person is eligible for liberation from material embodiment. Since the real self is eternal and never subject to death, Arjun should not lament he is having to kill the temporary external body in the course of discharging his duty as a Kshatriya soldier. Furthermore, his duty as a Kshatriya is to fight in the battle. Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so the there is no need for hesitation. Krishna then explains the art of work, Karma Yoga, by acting out selfless duty to the Supreme without desire for the fruitive action, one attains liberation from material bondage. Arjun then asks Krishna to enumerate the characteristics of one who is self-realized and situated in detached transcendental consciousness. In the remainder of the chapter, Krishna elaborately describes the Sthita Pragya, the person fixed in consciousness of the Supreme. Such a person, fully cognizant of his spiritual identity and separateness from matter, is not interested in material pleasure. Thus, he controls his outward senses. With controlled senses and with mind and intelligence fixed on the Supreme, he is unaffected by material dualities such as happiness and distress, loss and gain. Such a person, at the end of the present body, attains the spiritual world. So this is actually the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, which is summarized. So here, this is called Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga means enumerating 5 working senses, 5 knowledge acquiring senses, and also then Pancha Tanmatra, Pancha Mahabhuta, all these are explained actually. So here, you'll see that the next verse, Bhagavan is asking Arjuna, why you are lamenting? Kutastva kashmalamidam, Shri Bhagavan uvacha, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam, Anarya jushtam asvargam akirti karam Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan uvacha, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam, Anarya jushtam asvargam akirti karam Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan uvacha. Shri Bhagavan said, Kutaha, whence, tva, to you, kashmalam, delusion, idam, this, vishame, in these adverse circumstances, samapasthitam, come, anarya, by one who is not on the path of spiritual advancement, jushtam, practiced, asvargyam, does not lead to heaven, akirti, infamy, karam, the cause of Arjuna, O Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan said, O Arjun, what is the cause of your delusion at this critical hour? This is not at all proper for an Aryan. It will neither enhance your reputation nor lead you to the heavenly planets. So in this second chapter, Bhagavan Shri Krishna Chandra delineates the symptoms of liberated person. He removes the darkness caused by lamentation and delusion by first giving the wisdom to discriminate between matter and spirit. Kashmalam means delusion. Vishame means at this crucial moment, at the crisis of battle. Kutaha means what is the cause? And Upasthitam means it has taken shelter in you. The word Anarya Jushtam implies that this action would not be appreciated by noble or respectable persons. And Aswargyam, Akirtikaram, means this action is unfavorable for the attainment of both mundane and transcendental happiness. Sarartha Varshini Prakashika Bhakti. Dhritarashtra was pleased to know that even before the battle began, religious sentiments had suddenly awakened within Arjuna's heart. Arjuna was expressing aversion to facing the battle by adhering to the principles of non-violence. He considered it to be the supreme form of religion, ahimsa. Ahimsa paramo dharma. Dhritarashtra deliberated as follows. It would be greatly fortuitous for us if this battle does not take place, because my sons would then be permanent sovereigns of the kingdom without any obstacle. However, he still inquired as to what happened next. Sanjay, who was endowed with fine intelligence, could understand Dhritarashtra's inner motive. Thus, he very expertly detected the inference of the blind king and crushed his hopes. He said, even after seeing Arjuna in such a condition, Bhagavan Shri Krishna has not neglected him. Rather, he will instill into the heart of Arjuna that same natural propensity to subdue the miscreants which he subdued the miscreant Madhu and other demons. And through Arjuna, you will arrange the death of all your sons. Therefore, do not harbor any hope of attaining the kingdom without a battle. Sanjay continued describing to Dhritarashtra the statements of Sri Krishna. To fight is the nature and religious duty of the Kshatriya class. Why at this time of battle are you becoming averse to your prescribed duty? By engaging in this battle, liberation, the heavenly planets, and fame will be attained. To refuse to fight this religious war, as is the practice of non-Aryans or uncivilized persons, is unfavorable for these higher attainments. Furthermore, it destroys material happiness and fame. So here, Arjuna is actually unwilling to fight. But Krishna is instilling in him that he must fight. It is a duty of a Kshatriya to fight. If a Kshatriya doesn't fight, he will be known as a coward. So, Bhagavan is telling, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anariyushtam asvargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavan, he said, Kutaha, where from? Tva, unto you, kashmalam, dirtiness. Idam, this, lamentation. Vishame, in this hour of crisis, samupasthitam, arrived. Anarja, persons who do not know the value of life, they're called anarja. Jushtam, practiced by. Asvargyam, which does not lead to higher planets. Akirti, infamy. Karam, the cause of Arjuna or Arjuna. So you see that actually we have to appreciate the human form of life. And actually, today we also offer Shraddhanjali and prayers for Cyrus Mistry. Cyrus Mistry, he left the world today on the auspicious day of Radhashtami. He was actually the former chairman of Tata Sons and Company, a very biggest company, one of the biggest companies in India. He was only 54 years old, maybe almost my age or maybe younger, little younger. But actually he died in a car accident near Mumbai. So you see that he was so wealthy, but death can strike us any moment. So we offer Shraddhanjali and prayers for him. And he was riding in Mercedes Benz, but the driver apparently lost the balance. And then he died, and one more person died actually. So the whole nation is lamenting such a young person and especially so rich, but unfortunately he died. A very intelligent person. So we have to always be very careful. Don't waste any time. Srila Gurudev always told us, you cannot purchase time by money. Money cannot help you at the time of death. So here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjun, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the value of life. One who knows the value of life, he will not be coward. They lead not to higher planets but to infamy. So if a Kshatriya refuses to fight, he will go to hell. He will not go to Swarga. And he will also become infamous in this world as a coward. So Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. When we say Bhagavan, means Krishna. Krishna is Bhagavan, Bhagavan is Krishna. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan throughout the Gita. Bhagavan is the ultimate in the absolute truth. Absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, or the impersonal, all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, or the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yat jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaniti shabdati. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, 11th verse, this conception of the absolute truth is explained thus. Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yat jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwaniti shabdati. This is actually called Vyasakuta. Vyasakuta means, like Ganesh Utsav was concluded today in Andhra Pradesh, and many Ganesh deities were going in procession for immersion in the nearby lake in Mangalam. Ganesh actually was very intelligent. and he was, Vyasadeva told him to write actually. I think Brahma told Ganesh to write Bhagavatam, but Ganesh, he told that I am very restless, I won't be able to sit for long, you must explain Bhagavatam very quickly. So Vyasadeva also put a condition. I will tell the shlokas, but you should not write the shloka unless you understand it. Then Vyasadeva composed this shloka. The same absolute truth is known as Brahma, Paramatma and Bhagavan. This is called Vyasakuta. And Ganesh could not understand this shloka for a long time. By the time he understood the meaning of the shloka, Vyasadeva had compiled the entire Bhagavatam. So here, Arjuna is lamenting, Tam tatha krupaya vishtam ashrupurna kulekshanam vishidantam idam vakyam uvaja madhusudana. So, here, Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj also telling, according to the order of Krishna placed the chariot in between the two soldiers, two phalanxes of soldiers. One side there is Kaurava and one side is Pandavas. Arjuna was very respectful to Krishna. But Krishna has accepted the position of the charioteer of Arjuna. Understand? Actually, Krishna has accepted this inferior position. The warrior is always superior. So Krishna is on the chariot sitting on the throne and Arjuna is sitting on the throne. And Krishna has taken the inferior position, driving the chariot. Means Krishna is holding the reins of Arjuna's chariot and Arjuna is sitting on the throne on a higher position. So those who are not devotees, they want to say, I want to become Krishna. Non-devotees always want to become Krishna. Their aspiration is to merge into the existence of the Supreme Lord Krishna. They want to become Krishna by merging into Him. They want to become one with Krishna. But in devotional service, it is not the desire of the devotee to become one with Krishna. Devotee doesn't want to become one with Krishna. But sometimes he can make Krishna his order carrier. So Krishna sometimes becomes order carrier of his devotees. Means Krishna takes inferior position. So someone wants to become one with Krishna, it may be a very great position. But to command Krishna, to become commander of Krishna, to rule Krishna, that is another thing. And that position is greater than becoming one with Krishna. Like Radharani. Radharani can order Krishna. She can order Krishna. Yasya kadapi vasanonchita khelunatha dhanyati dhanya pavanena kritarthamani Yogindra durgam agatir madhusudanopi tasya namosta vrishabhanu bhodishepi. Srila Prabhupada Saraswati Pad's incarnation of Tunga Vidyasakhi says that one time Krishna was sitting on one shore of Radhakund and Radharani was sitting on the other shore. And Radharani was in a sulky mood and Krishna could not tolerate her separation even for a moment. All of a sudden, some breeze which has touched the clothes of Srimati Radharani entered and touched the body of Krishna. And Krishna considered himself very fortunate. He offered Sashtang Dandot Pranam to that direction from which the breeze which had touched the garments of Radharani came. How glorious is Radharani. So devotee is always greater than Krishna. So there are five types of kinds of liberation. Sayujya, the first liberation is supposed to be Sayujya. Means to become one with the Supreme. Understand? To become one with the Brahma, the bright light emanating from Krishna's body, or to become one with Vishnu himself. The Mayavadi philosophers, monists, they aspire after Sayujya Mukti. But a devotee, the Vaishnavas, they do not aspire after Sayujya Mukti. For them, there are other four types of mukti. Sarupya, to have the same form as the Lord. Salukya, to reside on the planet of the Lord. Sashti, to have the same appearance as the Lord. Samipya means to live in the vicinity of the Lord. But those who are still further advanced, they do not want any kind of mukti. They don't want any of these five kinds of mukti. Salukya, Samipya, Sarupya, Sahijya, nothing. Sashti, no. Like Mahaprabhu, he says, न धनम न जनम न सुंदरीम कवितांबा जगदीश कामहे मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवताद् भक्तिरहितु की त्वयि. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. So this is pure devotional prayer. The devotee does not approach the Supreme for any material gain. Pure devotion means without any aspiration of any kind of material gain or even spiritual gain. अन्याभिलाषिता शून्यम ज्ञान कर्माद्यनावृतम आनुकूल्येन कृष्णानुशीलनम भक्ति उत्तमा bhakti, first class bhakti. What is that? Anyavilasita shunyam, without any kind of desire than to serve Lord. And in Srimad Bhagavatam also it is said, Savi pumsam paro dharmo. Para means the transcendental, beyond this material conception. Krishna or the absolute Narayan, that is para. Narayana para avjakta. Narayan is not anything of this material world. Narayan, Krishna, Vishnu, they are the absolute personality of Godhead. And he is not anything of the material world. Narayan doesn't belong to this material world. When we use this word Nirakar, that means his form is not anything of this material world, but he has got his own form. And that is a transcendental form. So Krishna is not Nirakar, but he has a transcendental form. Sachidananda Vigraha. Nirakar means he has not such form as we have got this material form. This material form is neither of the three transcendental bliss, Sachidananda. This material form is Asat, temporary. Achit, devoid of knowledge, and Nirananda, devoid of any bliss. This body, this material body is Asat, Achit, and Nirananda. Therefore, when the Vedic literature or in authorized statement we find Nirakar, that means his form does not belong to this Asat, Achit, or Nirananda. But he has his form, Divyam. Janma karma cha ve divyam evam yo vektratvatah tattva deham punarjanma naiti mam iti swarajana. Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 9th verse, Krishna is telling, one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. So today is the appearance day of Radharani. And Radharani's birth is not like our birth. If anyone knows the secrets of Radharani's birth, then after leaving this body, he will never again come to this material world. He will go to the eternal abode of Golok Vrindavan. No doubt about this. Understand? So, Divyam, transcendental. Krishna's birth, Radharani's birth is transcendental. And Shankaracharya also especially preached impersonalism. He also admits that Narayana Paraha Avjakta. Narayan, the form of Narayan, is beyond the range of this Avjakta. Avjakta. So this world is creation. Avjaktat Anya Sambhava. This world is creation of this Avjakta. And beyond this Avjakta, there is another nature, and that is spiritual nature. That is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Parastasmattu bhavanyo. Avjakta, Avjaktat, Sanatana. 8.20. Parastasmattu bhavanyo avjakta avjaktat sanatana yas sarveshu bhuteshu nashat suna vinashyati. Yet there is another unmanifest nature, which is eternal and is transcendental to this material and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So Krishna's superior spiritual energy is transcendental and eternal. It is beyond all the changes of material nature, which is manifest and annihilated during the days and nights of Brahma. Krishna's superior energy. So Krishna's superior energy is completely opposite in quality to material nature. Superior and inferior natures are explained in the 7th chapter. So, in the situation Krishna is advising, no, I mean to say Arjuna is advising, Ratham sthapayame achyuta. Krishna is not Chuta. Krishna is Achyuta. Chuta means those who are fallen in this material world. Fallen. We are all fallen in this material world. Therefore, we have accepted this material body. Ichha dvesha samuthena sarge yanti param tapa. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata. Sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti param tapa. 7.27 Bhagavad Gita. O Sian of Bharat, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from hate and desire. The real constitutional position of the living entity is that of subordination to the Supreme Lord, who is pure knowledge. When one is deluded into separation from this pure knowledge, he becomes controlled by the illusory energy and cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The illusory energy manifested in the duality of desire and hate. Due to desire and hate, the ignorant person wants to become one with the Supreme Lord and envies Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pure devotees who are not deluded or contaminated by desire and hate can understand that Lord Shri Krishna appears by his internal potencies, but those who are deluded by duality and nations think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is created by material energies. This is their misfortune. Such deluded persons symptomatically dwell in dualities of dishonor and honor, misery and happiness, woman and man, good and bad, pleasure and pain, etc., thinking, this is my wife, this is my house, I am the master of this house, I am the husband of this wife. These are the dualities of delusion. Those who are so deluded by dualities are completely foolish and therefore cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here, Ichha means desire and Dvesha means envy, enviousness. Ichha Dvesha Samuthena. When we become envious of Krishna and we want to enjoy this material world, then we come to this material creation. Ichha Dvesha Samuthena sarge yanti param tapa. So any one of us who is in the material world, having a material body, beginning from Brahma down to the ant, a small ant, any one of them, Brahma Samhita it is said, yasmintu indra gopam athavendram ahosva karma, bandhan rupa phala bhajana matnoti. Yastu indra gopam athavendram ahosva karma, bandhan rupa phala bhajana matnoti, karmani nirdhati kintaja bhakti bhajam, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who burns up to their roots all fruitive activities of those who are imbued with devotion and impartially orders for each the due enjoyment of the fruits of one's activities. All those who walk in the path of work in accordance with the chain of their previously performed works, no less in the case of tiny insects that bears the name of Indragop than in that of Indra, king of heavens. So here, Bhagavan controls everyone. One's insect like Indragopa, which manifests in the rainy season, and Indra, they are all controlled by Bhagavan. So there is an insect which is called in Sanskrit language Indragopa. It is a microbe. You cannot see with these naked eyes. So this microbe is called Indra. And there is another Indra, the king of heaven. So the Brahma Samhita says, Yasto Indra Gopa Mathavendra Mahosokar. And Mahendra, the king of heaven. Beginning from this Indra Gopa up to the king of heaven, everyone is subject to enjoy or suffer the resultant action of his karma. By the resultant action of karma, one has to become the king of heaven, and by karma, resultant action of karma, one has to become the microbic insect. This is the material world. There are 8,400,000 types or forms of this material world, of this material body. And we are wandering sarvagata in different planets, in different forms. This is the material world. And in the material world, whatever form we may have, we have got attachment for this body. Not only attachment, we are under the impression that I am this body. Everyone That is the material conception of life. So that thing happened to Arjuna. In the battlefield, he identified himself as a body and he thought himself that he belongs to the Kuru family. And his family relatives, his other side, his brother, nephews, and his grandfather. So he refuses to fight. My dear Krishna, after pressing the chariot between the two parties, Sena Rubhero Madhya Ratham Stapayam Achyuta, and then he becomes very much disturbed that I have to kill the other side, my brother, my nephews, my grandfather. No, no, Krishna, I cannot. No, this is not possible. I shall not fight. This is the stage of Bhagavad Gita. Krishna became very much dissatisfied. Of course, Arjun played the part of a conditioned soul. A conditioned soul is under the impression that he is the body. This is animal life. In the Shastra, it is said, anyone who is identifying himself with this material body is animal. Gokhara, Saeva Gokhara. Go means cow, and Khara means ass. Yasyatma buddhi kunape tridhatuke swadhi karatradishu bhauma ijjadhi yatirtha buddhi salilena karhichit janeshu abhidneshu saeva gokhara. Yasya, anyone who is identifying this body as himself, which is made of three dhatu. According to Ayurvedic medical system, this body is production of kapha, pitta, vayu. And in our modern medical science, anatomy, physiology, this body is a combination of bones, muscles, skin, blood, urine, and stool. That's all. Shastra says if anyone thinks that he is the lump of bones, flesh, blood, urine, and stool, yasyadva buddhi kudapetri dhatuke and swadhi kalatradishu, and the production of these bones and flesh, kalatradishu, because we have got relationship here in this material world with wife. Kalatra means wife. Kalatradishu, beginning from wife. Wife produces so many children and therefore Adi, the beginning is wife. Swadhi kalatradishu. The wife and my children, they are my kith and kin. Swadhi kalatra. They are my own. Everyone is working. Even a great economist, Mr. Marshall, he says that economic development begins from family affection. Family affection. So unless one thinks that he has to maintain his wife, children, family, there is no question of economic development. Impetus. तो यस्यात्म बुद्धि कुणपेत्र धातु के सधी कलत्रादिशु भौम इज्जधि. Bhauma, this earth as worshipable. Bhauma ijjadhi yat tirtha buddhi salile. And for pilgrimage, one who thinks that the water is tirtha. Tirtha means where one can get transcendental knowledge. Sadhi kalatradishu bhauma ijjadhi yat tirtha buddhi salilena karichit. Janeshu abhidneshu. But has no interest to associate with persons who is expert in transcendental knowledge. Such these persons, they are called Gokhara. If someone is actually doesn't want to associate with sadhus, then that person is considered very foolish. Hare Krishna. So thank you so much for attending today's class. Happy Radhashtami to you. Radharani is the best Shakti of Krishna and she is very dear to Krishna. By her mercy we can get Radha Krishna's mercy, Radharani's mercy we can get Krishna's service. If you want to please Krishna, then we have to worship Radharani, and if you want to please Radharani, you have to worship Krishna. So I hope all of you celebrated today, and then Ekadashi is also coming within 2-3 days. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarvesya kripa sindhu bhevcha paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna. That does. Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you so much. And I know in your busy schedule, you took off and you came to give us class today. Really appreciate it. Thank you. And thank you to those devotees that joined us from Hong Kong and China. I know it's midnight for you, but with yours mercy, we come every day to class. And you can see Maharaj is also very tired, but he tries to give us his mercy. So thank you to devotees again. I know today everyone's had a long day, but thank you, Maharaj, for your class. We really appreciate it. Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, dear devotees, March tomorrow you're available now this week?
Yeah, I'm available. Yes, I'm not traveling, so I'm
Okay.
available. Hare Bol, Hare Bol.
Okay. Chi Didi says thank you, Maharaj.
Hare
Okay,
Krishna.
so we'll see you all tomorrow, dear devotees, for Madhurya Kadamni.
Yes, yes.
Marge, sorry, which page you stopped at?
Last time, our Anang Mohan Prabhu would know.
No, today, Maharaj, not.
Today, actually, we are on the second verse of second chapter. Second verse of the second chapter,
Okay.
Bhagavad Gita. We are in the middle of that. I was reading the class given by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj in Ahmedabad in December 6, 1972. So he has given some classes in Ahmedabad about this Bhagavad Gita. So I was reading on 6th and 7th of December, that is I think little cold season in Ahmedabad, he spoke on this Bhagavad Gita, second chapter. The second chapter as such, not so much the topic of Bhagwan is spoken, but it is mainly about the soul, understand, the eternality of the soul. So even Christians and Muslims, they can appreciate this chapter very much. And Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani granati naroparaani तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि अन्यानि samyati navani dehi. So basically, just like we discard the old clothes and we put on the new clothes, similarly we give up this body and then we take a new body. Understand? So here, first Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight. Dhritarashtra apparently he was very happy that Arjun is now not going to fight, and my sons will get a walkover. Means my sons will now very easily be crowned the kings. Understand? Because there is no resistance. They will be elected on a post, like in election, political elections. If no one is contesting, then you will be elected on a post. So he thought there will be no resistance. But Sanjaya, who is actually a disciple of Vyasadeva, actually Sanjaya, he has got the transcendental vision. And by that transcendental vision, although he is sitting in Hastinapur near Delhi, he is able to see what is happening on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, about 200-300 miles. And he is able to relate it to Dhritarashtra. And you see that it's so far actually. Dhritarashtra is sitting in near Delhi, Hastinapur. And Kurukshetra is in like at least 150 kilometers, I would say. So, but how he is able to see? Understand? Now we have so much technology. Now we have so much technology. But previously, there was not so much technology. But there was actually spiritual science was there. So Hastinapur, that is where Dhritarashtra is sitting. And this Hastinapur, Hasti means actually elephants. So this is the place. Many elephants were there. It's very difficult to maintain an elephant. Very difficult to maintain an elephant. There is an elephant in many elephants in Tirupati. And they are very, very expensive to maintain them because they eat a lot. But only king can maintain elephants. Only king can maintain an elephant. So you see that Hastinapur, that is the place near Meerut or Meerut. Our Dhritarashtra is sitting, and Kurukshetra, other corner of Haryana, so far away, 150 or 200 kilometers away. The battle is taking place, but by the mercy of our Vyasadeva, Sanjay is able to see everything, what is happening there. And now Sanjay is telling that Krishna's name is Madhusudana. Madhu was a demon and Krishna killed a Madhu demon. So Arjuna's doubts are like Madhu demon, and Krishna, whose Madhusudana, is going to annihilate all the doubts of Arjuna. Means he's going to remove all the doubts of Arjuna and is going to give him transcendental knowledge. So every name which is used here in Bhagavad Gita for Krishna has some meaning behind it. Why that particular name was used. So Uvacha Madhusudana. Krishna is called Madhu Kaitava. Madhu Kaitava Hari. He is the enemy of Madhu demon and Kaitav demon. So in our heart, so many doubts may come, delusion may come. They are like demons, and Krishna is the killer of these demons. So when doubts come in your heart, you'll see that Krishna will remove those doubts. So we read the Gita Mahatmya today. In Gita Mahatmya, we can see that how the place where second chapter of Bhagavad Gita was recited by some devotee, then even the tiger and the goats, they lost their natural animosity for each other. They lost their natural enmity for each other, and they were sitting together. Means the place where Srimad Bhagavad Gita is recited, Srimad Bhagavatam is recited, that place becomes Tirtha. And there, naturally, one doesn't feel the pangs of hunger, thirst, and also fear, lamentation. All these vikaras don't manifest in the place where Bhagavad Gita is recited. So that's why to develop faith in Bhagavad Gita, the Bhagavad Gita Mahatmya has been told by Vishnu to Lakshmi Devi. Understand? So this Bhagavad Gita is a very basic scripture. But actually, Krishna has spoken it. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkrutam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. He wants to protect the saintly devotees. And he wants to annihilate the demons. Who is actually a sadhu? Apicheta sudracharo bhajate mam ananyavak sadhareva samantavya samyak vyavasato isa. Bhagavad Gita 9:30, Krishna is telling that even if one commits the most abominable action, if he is engaged in devotional service, he is to be considered saintly because he is properly situated in his determination. So even those who have any abominable character, but if they are chanting the name of Krishna, we should accept them as devotee. One who is strictly a pure devotee of Krishna, he is mentioned as sadhu. Understand? And he is first class sadhu. Even if he is a grastha, it doesn't matter. Generally, we understand sadhu means saffron cloth. No, sadhu's qualification is that he must be a pure devotee of Krishna. So actually, Ramananda Rai was not actually sannyasi. Also, you'll see that Saram Bhattacharya was not a sannyasi. So many devotees were householders, but they were great devotees. They were real sadhus. Sadhava sadhu bhushana. Sadhava sadhu bhushana. So, Krishna speaks, Shri Bhagwan Uvach. Bhagwan. This Bhagwan means one is full of 6 kinds of opulences. It's called Bhagwan. Aishwaryasa samagrasa viryasa sastriya jnana vairagyavashyava shannam bhagam itingana. In Vishnu Purana it is told Bhaga means opulence. And one who possesses the opulence is called Bhagavan. Krishna means all attractive. Ete cham shakala pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So there are other great personalities like Lord Shiva is also sometimes described as Bhagavan. Similarly, Lord Brahma, Narad, others are also sometimes described as Bhagavan. But real Bhagavan means Krishna. So Krishna is the Ashraya Vigraha, is the Vishaya Vigraha. Radharani is the Ashraya Vigraha. And Shiva and Brahma, they are also Ashraya Vigraha. They are also receptacle of love of Godhead. Understand? In one sense, Shiva is also some complex tattva. But they are all devotees. Brahma and Shiva, they are also devotees. Narad also devotee. Sometimes devotees also addressed as Bhagavan. It means that the devotee has love for Bhagavan, so he is also called Bhagavan. But he is not Vishaya Bhagavan. He is the Ashraya Bhagavan. He is the receptacle of love. He is not the supreme enjoyer. So Narad, if he is called Bhagavan, he means Ashraya Vigraha. He is the Ashraya Bhagavan. So all these things have been very much carefully analyzed in Sri Rupa Goswami. He has analyzed in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is a very, very important book. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj gave a summary study of these things. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Narayan, you can see that Krishna is 7% Bhagavan. In Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Krishna is 64 out of 64. All the qualities are present. But our Narayan is 94% Bhagavan. Means he has 60 qualities. Narayan. So he is 94% Bhagavan. And Lord Shiva is 84% Bhagavan. Because he has 84% qualities. And other living entities, we are minutely 78% Bhagavan. We are also Bhagavan, but minute Bhagavan. We are very tiny. Means we are Sanatan. We are all part and parcel of Krishna. So we have very minute degree, this 78% quality is what Bhagavan has, but in minute degree. Bhagavan is an ocean, we are just a drop. Understand? So Swami Maharaj is telling we are minutely 78% Bhagavan. That means when you come to the perfection of life, when you are actually in the spiritual stage, then you have got the qualities of Bhagavan in minute quantity, but not all the qualities. 80, 78%. So we have all the qualities, 78% qualities of Bhagavan, but only minute degree, very tiny degree. 80% or 78% qualities we have when we become very pure, but in a minute degree. So Bhakti-Sam Sindhu has nicely analyzed this. As Shastra says very clearly, Iti Chamshakala Pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So Srimad Bhagavatam gives us the list of different Bhagavans. This particular incarnation appeared and performed these activities. So in this list of incarnations in Srimad Bhagavatam, the name of Sri Ramchandra is also there, Lord Buddha is also there. But in the conclusive portion, it is clearly told, Iti Chamshakala Pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan. Ramchandra may be a portion, plenary portion of Krishna. Buddha, Kalki, all may be plenary portion, but Krishna is the source of all these plenary portions. So Balram is also mentioned in the list of incarnations. But conclusion is given by Vyasa that except Krishna, all others they are plenary expansion of Krishna or part of plenary expansion. The plenary expansion is called Amsha, and part of the plenary expansion is called Kala. So all they are Amsha and Kala of Krishna, all the incarnations, they are direct expansions. But Kala means expansion of the expansion, secondary expansion. So, Ete Amsha Kala Pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. All these incarnations, they are either Amsha or Kala, but Krishna, the name Krishna, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay? Hare Krishna. And that Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is controlled by Radharani, whose appearance there is today. So, how great is Radharani? Understand? Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Vanchākara Vishnu. That was.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Prabhu. Thank you so much. Nanga Mohan Prabhu, Jai Diwani, please. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Radha Vinoda Bihari Ji Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Parastota Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Vishnu Deiti Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Parastotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Dandi Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitya Leela
Jai,
Pravish
Jai, Jai.
Vishnu Parastotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Maharaj ki
Nitya
Jai,
Leela
Jai, Jai.
Pravish Vishnu Parastotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Vamana Goswami
Swami
Maharaj
Maharaj
Ki Jai.
ki Jai, Jai, Jai.
Nityalila Pravishto Vishnu Parastotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Ki Jai, Jai,
Nityalila
Jai.
Pravishto Vishnu Parastotara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki
Maharaj ki Jai, 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 Jai.
Nityanila Pravishto Vishnuparastotara Shata Shri Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki
Maharaj
Jai.
ki Jai, 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 Jai.
Nityalila Pravishta Parama Bhagavata Pravara Shri Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji
Maharaj
Maharaj Ki
ki
Jai.
Jai, Jai, Jai.
Nityalila Pravishta Shri Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki
Ki
Jai.
Jai, 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 Jai.
Nityalila Pravishta Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj
Maharaj
Ki Jai.
ki Jai, Jai,
Gaudya
Jai.
Danta Acharya Shri Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan Prabhu
की जय जय जय
Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur
की
ki jai
जय
Srila
जय
Narottam Srinivas Shyamananda Prabhutraya ki
पुत्र
jai
की
Srila
जय
Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu ki jai Shri
की
Rupa
जय
Bhat Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Das Raghunath Sat Goswami Prabhu ki jai
की
Shri
जय
Rupa
जय
Damodar Raya Ramananda Dishi Gaura Prasad Brinda ki jai
की जय
Navarya Leela Haridas Thakur ki jai
की
Jai
जय
Ho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai अंतर्द्वीप मायापुर सीमांत द्वीप गोद्रुम द्वीप मध्याद्वीप कोलद्वीप ऋतुद्वीप चालुद्वीप बोध्रद्रुम द्वीप रुद्रद्वीप पद्मकार श्री नवद्वीप की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपा गोपी गोवर्धन द्वादश वनात्मकार श्री व्रजमंडल की जय श्री राधा कुंड मुकुंद गंगा यमुना तुलसी भक्ति देव की जय श्रीमती देव की जय श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जय श्री गोपीश्वर महादेव की जय श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा सुदर्शन चक्र जीव की जय श्री क्षेत्र मंडल की जय सर्व विघ्न विनाशकारी श्री नरसिंहदेव की जय भक्त प्रवार श्री प्रहलाद महाराज की जय चार धाम की जय चार संप्रदाय की जय चार चार की जय अकर्मत राज की चैतन्य मात की जय श्री केशव जी गौड़िया मात हो तत्समाज समूह की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय श्री भगवद गीता की जय श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्री रामदास भक्त वृंद की जय श्री नित्य गौर प्रेमानंद हरि हरि बोल
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Thank you, Nanga Mohan Prabhu, for that, and thank you, Maharaj, for coming and attending. Thank you, dear devotees, for attending today. Vansha Kalpa, Srivastya, Kripa Sunnibi, Vacha, Bhavani, Vaishnavi, Binamana, Vaishnavi, Binamana, Vaishnavi. Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Dandavat Pram. See you all tomorrow. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.